And let's go ahead and welcome Andrew Breitbart.
Am I allowed to do this? Okay, good. Because I'm a mad gesticulator. I knock things over on purpose. And that is what we are doing. We are knocking things over. So thank you very much for coming out here on your work day and knocking things over. That's exactly what we're doing. What you need to know is this. You are the majority, you are not the minority. We have been indoctrinated for the last 50 years by the mainstream media to create the perception that the minority is the majority and the majority is the minority. And for the longest time, and this may be something that's hard for you to swallow because you're not necessarily that empowered in Denver when the media is based in New York, Washington, and Los Angeles. Well, what can I do? What can I do? These people create the perception that we're troglodytes, that we're racist, that we're sexist, that we're homophobe. If you disagree with a single policy with the left, they distill everything down to the worst possible motivation. That's called political correctness. It's called moral relativism. It's cultural Marxism. And so while we're at war right now, clearly, with economic Marxism, the thing that we need to destroy to get us to the next place, to the promised land, if you will, is to destroy this matrix of political correctness that has been created by the mainstream media and Hollywood. How do I know? I live there. I used to be a leftist in Hollywood. Who hates you the most in the world? My neighbors. And they are in charge of ABC, CBS, NBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Los Angeles Times. So when I was invited to my first Tea Party, April 15th, tax day of 2009, I thought to myself, what on God's green earth can I offer? I'm supportive of the Constitution. I believe in the Constitution, but there are people at this event who are going to be speaking about the Constitution. It's not my expertise. And then there are the other side, people who talk about economics and people who have a fetish of searching Milton Friedman at 2 a.m. on YouTube. That's not me. I believe in Milton Friedman. He's obviously right. Adam Smith, thumbs up. What can I bring to this Tea Party during its nascent stages that will be helpful? Because I want you to win. I want the majority in this country to win. I want righteous people who believe in freedom and liberty to win. What can I bring? And so as I was driving, this was in Los Angeles, and there were about 7 Tea Parties that day. And I was the equivalent of the off stage. Told you I'd gesticulate. That was a mild gesticulation. I was the off stage at Lollapalooza, at Freedom Palooza. I was in Santa Ana, California, at a civic center, about 40 miles away from where I live. I had to drive. It took 3 hours to get there. What am I going to talk about? I turn on the radio, and they're playing a segment from MSNBC where the unfortunately named Contessa Brewer is discussing, the topic was, is the opposition to Obama racist? And they had a photo of a man holding a gun in front of a rally not unlike this. I think he was trying to state that of the amendments that he supports the most, the Second Amendment. I don't recommend doing that at presidential rallies. But what they did was they used a Photoshop new media technique, and they cut the gentleman's head off, and for many segments talked about, is the Tea Party racist? Are all of you people racist? And raise your hand if you know what happened. They cut the man's head off. They exacted his head off because he was a gentleman who happened to be black, African American, whatever the politically correct phase of the day is. I'll abide by it. How evil is that? How out of your way? Somebody had to do that. If you see a picture, your natural instinct isn't to cut the head off. But they cut the head off so they could talk about whether or not there was some type of confluence of racism and what the Department of Homeland Security, what's her name? Napolitano, that's right. She issued the report at the exact same moment saying, you're the gathering violent threat. So before you have even stepped out of your house to protest their government, after 8 years of dissent is patriotic being the mantra of every single leftist, they're saying your dissent is racist. What is wrong with this picture? They are not only using government to coerce you to shut up, they're using their arm in the media to shut you up as well. Well, a funny thing, you're terrific, you're terrific. You're brainwashed, enjoy it. Go home, watch television, and they will affirm your worldview. You stand for my right to speak? You stand for my right to speak here? Or do you, this is a form of coercion. This is a form of coercion. You want to shut up people that disagree with you. I had to abide by the majority white anti-war movement gathering in front of my house. I didn't call it racist. Well, anyway, this is what we're up against. A generation of people who have been brainwashed. And it is not, we are the majority in this country. And what has happened over the last 2 years has been nothing short of extraordinary. Because when Hannah Giles and James O'Keefe came to me with video that showed them going into President Obama's much vaunted community organizing group, they came to me. Why me? I worked out of a basement in Los Angeles. Why don't you go to ABC, CBS, and NBC to show this news? Because they knew at 25 years of age and 20 years of age that their future is at risk. Their future's at risk. They're gonna have, it's their credit card that these governments are putting their future on, and they knew that they needed to go out there and point out that those things, those instruments of social justice and economic equality are nothing but immoral means of keeping people downtrodden and oppressed. And so when they came to me with this information, I said to them something. Your life is going to change when we put this information out there. It's manifestly evil that you would have 9 out of 10 offices or so aid and abet in trying to establish an underage prostitution ring. That is exactly what they tried to do with your federal money. And when we put those videos out there, what happened? The mainstream media not only tried to ignore it, they tried to go along with Acorn's lies. They said, that just happened in one office. So I hit the second video. And they went back to Acorn and they said, hey, I guess it wasn't just one office, as you told us yesterday. And Acorn said, well, they tried it in New York, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles, and they got kicked out. Good, because we had videos of them being aided and abetted in New York, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles. Acorn lied to the mainstream media, yet the mainstream media kept covering up for Acorn. But eventually, something interesting happened on the way to the forum, and that was we figured out a way to circumvent the mainstream media. And so, after we showed 2 videos intentionally on Thursday and Friday, we thought that you, the American people, who listen to talk radio and read the internet would figure out maybe these people have something up their sleeve more than just 2 videos. And so that went into the big 9/12 event of 2009. And I was in Quincy, Illinois, and it was my second major Tea Party event. And this is in the middle of the country, and I'd say about half of the signs were Acorn driven. How did everybody know about what was going on with the Acorn videos when there was a blackout on ABC, CBS, and NBC, even though the Treasury delinked the census from Acorn on Friday night? The mainstream media refused to show those videos because they knew that it showed something dark and cynical about what they considered the Great Society, and that was going to cure all the ills of our society. No, they perpetuated and increased the problems in our society by creating a safety net that had no checks and balance. And so what happened on 9/12 in Washington, 1 million people, a third of the signs out there were Acorn driven. What happened the next week? The House and the Senate voted to defund Acorn. How could that possibly be if it wasn't on ABC, CBS, or NBC? How is that possible? How is it that Al Franken voted to defund Acorn? Why? He got elected because of Acorn. Why did he vote? Because he saw the power that we have to report the news now. He saw the power that we had to say, you know what, Katie Couric, Charlie Gibson, and Brian Williams, you do not represent the American people, and you haven't for a generation, and we've given you 15 to 20 years of talk radio checks and balances. That's all talk radio is. We read the New York Times, we read the Washington Post, we watch MSNBC, NBC, and we go, that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie. That's our very kind way of saying, clean up your act, or else we are not going to subscribe to your newspapers, or we're going to turn the channel, and that is exactly what we have done.